All right. Welcome back. Welcome back to Real Talk. We are so delighted to have you with us again. Of course, this is a live stream platform for women, and it's hosted by none other than Rochele Lawson, Queen of Feeling Fabulous from Blissful Living, and myself, Dr. Kim Brown Barber, better known as Dr. Kim from Journey to Becoming. And we are just here to connect and inspire and motivate, women all around the world. I mean, people we're talking to are all around the world. Conversation. So we're excited that you're here with us. And yes, this is live. So, whatever happens, we roll with it. Okay. That's one thing about it. That's why we call it Real Talk. And we love it. Okay. And so, we are here to actually talk about issues and challenges and just what's facing women today, and be able to support each other, gain wisdom from each other, learn from each other, and be able to have open, honest, loving conversations. So I'm not going to take a lot of time because boy, it flies once we get started. But I want to be able to just let you know I am Dr. Kim Brown Barber from Journey to Becoming, and I am involved in trying to help women find their journey, and understanding it's always going to be journeys, like more than one, several, and you constantly are on the journey, right? So we focus so much on once we get to the actual goal that we forget that it's a lot that we can glean in the journey and celebrate in the journey. So that's me. And my co-host, Rochele.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rochele Marie Lawson, known as the Queen of Feeling Fabulous, owner and founder of Blissful Living for You and All Day Cable Incorporated, located in Silicon Valley. And I just am really on a mission to unite women. And this is a great platform for us to have conversations about the things that affect us today, which is what me and Dr. Kim visualizes to be all about. Safe place for women. And we have open dialogue, and we invite all of you that are watching or that may see this to either comment in the chat or engage in conversation with us with regards to the topics that we're going to be discussing. If you like what you see and hear, please subscribe to the show. You can find the show on YouTube, both on Dr. Kim's YouTube channel and my YouTube channel. But if you like what you hear, please subscribe to the show and share it with other women that you know and care and love about, or that you don't like, because it's all about us uniting as women so that we can
Exactly
make it a better place. So, all right, Dr. Kim.
I love it. I love it. All right, and we have our panelists with us today, who is so gracious to come on the panel. And can you introduce yourself, Claudia?
Hi, my name is Claudia Ruiz. I am a CSUMB alumni.
All right.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about what you do now, career-wise?
Yeah, I am an administrative assistant over at our local retirement community. Mm-hmm. I work with all levels of care, so from independent, assisted, all the way to skilled nursing. I assist in all things there, really. Right now it's been COVID coordinator, so I'm in charge of all boosters and vaccines and all that stuff, as well as developing activities and programs for the residents that live there to make sure that they're all, engaged and having a full and happy life. So lots of things.
Yes. Sounds like you are managing it all. Like, you're the go-to person, right, for the facility.
Yeah. Yes, definitely that. So it's a big responsibility, but definitely worthwhile, and it's really nice.
Awesome. So one of the things that our topic is tonight, now we always talk about what our topic is, right, and what we get into, and then I love it because panelists will say, how do I prepare? You don't. It's real talk. Like, we give you the topic and we roll with it, and that's what I love, because it's real conversation. So our topic for this evening or this morning, wherever you are hearing this, is what's missing in the workplace for women today, and what needs are not being met. And there is like lots of things when you look this up of what's missing, what women said what were missing even like 3 years ago before COVID, and what women are saying, what's being missed now, even, and I don't want to say after COVID because we're not out of it yet, but at post COVID, when COVID came, right? And so it's very different. And some needs are kind of the same because they haven't been met, but there are other needs that are also coming on the horizon of what women are looking for in the workforce and what's not being met. And then, how do we start to cultivate a environment that can help meet those needs? So that's kind of like what the topic is in general. So first of all, the first question is like, what do you see prior to the pandemic, not right now, prior to the pandemic, that in the workplace that women needed and it was met? Because I want to kind of do a contrast and compare. Prior to the pandemic, what did you see that was a need for women in the workplace and it was met? Let's start with you, Claudia.
Definite. So I guess it depends on what realm you were working in, right? I've been lucky to work in like really strong female-led groups. So I've been lucky enough to where if there was a need, then it was met pretty quickly. So in Monterey, I know like I worked at the aquarium, and it was a team of, I think, only women. And so it was really, really strong, and we all felt very safe with each other. So, in terms of like safety and like safe zones of like how you can be open and talk about how you're feeling. A lot of us were students, and so we were able to say, hey, we have a lot of workload for finals and this and that. And our leaders or our bosses would give us the days off, or would give us longer breaks so we can feel like we're actually taking time to rest rather than like always on the go. So that's something that I always appreciated from workplaces or safe zones, I guess, that really heard you and like, oh, she's stressed. Oh, she needs time off. Oh, she needs a little extra assistance with this. And it was always met with like right after it was given,
And so that's prior to the COVID, right?
Yeah, that's prior to COVID.
That's good.
Before the craziness happened.
Before the craziness, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay, excellent. So Rochele, what about you?
Well, because I'm in a different zone, so to speak, with regards to I work for myself. I have multiple businesses, and I'm all over the place, so to speak. But with regards, if I take it from the standpoint of prior to COVID, I think that what I saw in the workplace was that women needed to be definitely supported with regards to having the responsibilities of, managing their home, their children, and all of that stuff, right? The school, it wasn't very easy prior to COVID for women to be as inclusive in their families' beneficial, moving forward. You know what I'm saying? I think with regards to COVID, it was beneficial in the aspect that if a woman could do her job from home and get it done effectively, then let her do it from home, because that allows her to be able to be with her children, and kids were having to do homeschool. It was tough for you to do your job as well as make sure your kids are getting educated as best they could during the time period. But it allowed that. Just think if that wasn't happening, you had to have your kids at home and you don't have nobody to watch them and all that kind of crap problems, and then you still have to go into work, So I think with regards to that, I think the higher level executives in these Fortune 500 and Fortune 1000 companies got an understanding that it can work. A woman can work from home, or a man for that matter, can work from home. As long as they get their job done, it allows them to be more available to their family in a time of crisis in need, which was what was going on, right? And I think since we've been, we're going into 2 years of this now.
We're not at that point yet.
Okay.
Right.
We don't want 3 years.
All right, we not talking about that yet. Okay. But I already know but I want to hear it. I know where you're going. Go with it, girl. So what I'm hearing from you is like, okay, there wasn't as much flexibility prior to COVID as far as like being able to work from home. And that's a valid and very key point. That's like one of the biggest points, because that's something that women wanted, was flexibility in their jobs, right? In their careers. And they didn't have it. It was like, nope, you need to be at the office. You need to be at the hospital. You need to be wherever it was, you needed to be there, right? Mm-hmm. Physically in the place. But it's interesting what we found out, when we were pushed into it. I mean, right. How many times has this been asked by many females? Can I work from home today? No, because you can't get it done. And so it's interesting. So that's really big. The safe spaces, that was important. People used to always talk about the safe spaces even before COVID, right? So that was important.
What is a safe space? So let me go back, because I did have a job and had to manage kids and a business and all that prior to COVID, way back when. Nobody gave me any, I'm sorry, your kids are sick. Oh, well, you know what? Or your child's got the chicken pox, but they were sick.
No.
You know what? I'm sorry, you got to figure it out. I need you here, right? So there was no empathy, there was no sympathy, there was nothing for women who were at that particular time the majority, I want to say, had the majority of the caretaking responsibility. Mm-hmm. My children were young, right? Now you fast forward to today, it's a lot more balance within that. But the fact that being able to do that is huge, because it did not exist
you're
for women in the capacity where it was accepted and people understood prior to 2020. 2020 has instituted a whole new ball game when it comes to it, and they can see that things can be done. So
no, this is good. See, you know how we are. Come on, you know how we are. It's real talk. Conversation. Nothing is rehearsed. We just go with it, right? But also, it brings it into, I don't even know, because and that's what I love. Like, we can talk about different generations, because Claudia is experiencing a different thing than what we experience. Because even prior to that, it was like, a lot of times you would be looked upon as a bad mother if you went out and worked outside the home. Now, of course, I'm going decades back, not trying to date myself, but it's real. Like, of course, it's something that is not a big deal now, but it was a hurdle that women had to literally be able to jump and go over, because it was considered a big issue. Like, oh, you work outside the home? Oh, well, so I guess you don't care about your family. It was like, no, it has nothing to do with that. We can be more than this, right? And so we see ourselves prior to COVID, what women were looking at and the things we needed and how they changed. Now, Rochele, after COVID, what are you seeing that we need, but we still are not getting? What are we seeing that we need, but we're still not getting? And Rochele, I want you to go ahead and start the ball rolling on that one.
Again, and probably Claudia is probably a better person to answer this question, because I employ in people. So I am the employer. Okay. And my, with regards to my telecom business, it's guys. So there's a different responsibility, skill set, maybe within family relationships when it comes to guys. My guys, so I'm dealing with guys. I don't have any female employees with my.
Okay, see, that's something there too, right? You're dealing mainly with guys. Okay. Yeah.
But with my Blissful Living for You business, I do have females. The fortunate thing is that they are able to work from home, and they're able to do the work that fits their schedule. So if they need to be, available for their children from 2:30 to 6:30 or whatever, that's fine with me. As long as I'm all about, as long as you get your work done when you need to get it done, deadlines. I don't care when you work. You can work from midnight to 2, 4, 5 p.m.
Right.
Just get your work done. Whatever works for you. I want you to be happy. So Claudia may be better able to answer.
Well, no, this is good, because we need it from an entrepreneur point of view too. Like, how does that look for small businesses? We're looking at the gamut. So no, that was very valuable. Now, Claudia, how do you see the change of since COVID? What is needed and what's not being addressed in the
Yeah, I
workplace
mean,
for
I
women?
know I totally agree with what you guys are saying about working from home and how it's just opened up so much calmness within women who have families and or animals and things
Hmm.
that they have to take care of within the home. So it is nice to have that source of work be turned into, oh, you can go home, you can actually get your stuff done
Hmm.
on your own timeline. I work somewhere where I don't think a lot of the work could be done at home. It's a lot of face-to-face contact.
Hmm.
So I know that COVID pay is no longer happening in California, which is really
Hmm.
unfortunate because people are still having to stay home and quarantine from work. So
Hmm.
that's 10 days if you're not vaccinated and boosted and, all that stuff. That's 10 days worth that you're not getting paid for.
Hmm.
Um, and that sometimes that makes a difference. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, 10
Hmm.
days can make
Hmm.
the rent, so
Hmm.
that's really sad to see. And I work with women who have children of their own. I have one close coworker who was a single mom growing up with her kid, and she always says, I just had to figure it out. My
Hmm.
son was sick, I had to go to work, I had to find someone to take care of him.
Hmm.
Preschool, daycare, all that super expensive. And so nowadays seeing um, kind of the same thing, like there's still women who come to work and they have their kids at home and they might not be feeling well, but they
Hmm.
have to make the decision of, do I come to work and make the paycheck so I can pay the bills, or
Hmm.
do I stay home with my kid who needs me?
Hmm.
And so it's still a really hard decision to make. You're kind of like, there is no right answer. You want to be there for your child, but you're also there for your child if you go to work. So
Hmm.
it is really sad to see. And like, women don't get, I mean, they get a lot of like credit now. I'm not saying they
Hmm.
don't, but I feel like it's also kind of forgotten sometimes, of like, wow, you're coming to work and you still have a whole life at home that you have to take care of. So I still think we have like a little bit of needs in that sense, like
Hmm.
work that can offer daycare. I think would be
Hmm.
incredible. Or I don't know, just
No,
there's
that's good.
always room for more growth, in my opinion.
There you
Um,
go. There
yeah.
you go. There's room for growth. Yes, we we have
Yeah.
moved forward, but we still have a lot more that we need to do. And it's interesting because one of the things that we did see change, after COVID was an increase in flexibility because they had to, right? But it's
Hmm.
interesting to hear that, okay, but that's not happening for everybody. People are thinking, oh, this is great. It's happening, and now we just heard that's not happening in every industry or every job, every career. Some
Yeah.
it might be, and others it might not be. So we can't just assume that because the majority are that it's not some more growth that needs to happen where either a daycare or something else is considered when you're
Hmm.
looking at women in the workplace. And I understand you have some men who are taking care of their kids or who are single fathers. We're not discounting that, guys,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
we're talking about women who have been, just like Rochele was saying, who have normally been, the caregivers for the kids. Being able to have something set up for them so that they can be able to move forward in their career as well and not be penalized because they need to take off for a sick child or
Hmm.
whatever it is that you may be caring for, an animal, an elder, parent, whatever, all of that, right?
Right.
But what about parity? Being able to have the same pay and status of the male. That's something that even when researching this, they said that it's still not happening. This we're not getting the same pay doing the same job and the status. We're not getting that. That's still a need that's out there in a lot of industries. And now I know that in some of the businesses, you can have a COO, CEO, or a VP and can be a male, and they're getting paid almost 2 times more than the woman who comes in as a VP, COO, or CEO. It's happening in many industries. Of course, a lot of times we don't know because we don't know what our counterpart is making, right? Until it comes
Hmm.
up or somebody happens to see or talk about it during an event or and eating, while you're out to dinner or whatever. And all of a sudden you find out, oh, wow, I didn't know you made this. And heaven forbid, even though it's not right, they tell you in a minute that people will talk about what they get paid. And so a lot of times HR thinks that it won't get back, but it does. And so when it does get back, it's like there's no answer. It's like, yeah, well, that's what it is. And you don't have a recourse. So, I mean, do you guys see that or hear that out there, even post COVID?
Yeah, I think definitely. I know, at least where I work, I know that different years of experience can mean that you get paid a certain amount, versus like another, like, for example, like certified nurse assistants. Like if someone's been a certified nurse assistant for 10 years versus someone who's been a CNA for 2, the 10-year person will get more. But you will find that like sometimes, because of where we are with COVID and how health industries are so in need for CNAs, RNs, and stuff, that they'll automatically bump this first year CNA because they need people, and then they'll forget about this person like Jackie, who's been at the company for 7 years, and she's about to be making the same amount as the new girl, right? So it is hard to see, and like it's hard to keep track of it with COVID and like patients and healthcare services needing so much help and backup that they kind of get lost in the whole mix of things, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. And it's interesting because healthcare industry, you bring up a really good point, because the need is so great. They're like, okay, whatever you need, well, come on.
Like
So
just come work.
right. We don't care. Oh, you need daycare? Hey, we'll pay for the daycare. We'll figure it out, right?
Yeah.
But that's different, right? Because right now it is such a high need that they almost have to. But I wonder, like, once everything calms down, will it be the same?
Yeah.
And because in a different industry, is that really happening? It's not happening in every industry, because if the high need is not there, it's not necessarily happening, right? Because then most of the time, like I said, most of the time we don't even know. So we don't even know to say, oh, wait a minute, I'm getting paid less. How would you know?
So
Exactly.
I want to jump in here because, for one, you don't know what another person makes. For two, men always make more than women. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And you don't know that if you don't have a conversation. And those conversations don't happen. It's been happening before I was an employee, a business owner, and it'll continue to happen. And this is where women need to stand up, because just because you don't know, somebody's making more than you, you're doing the same job as them, or you're doing more than them and getting paid less. So this is when women need to stand up and fight and buck the system, because if we continue to allow this to happen, and we know it's happening, we have nobody to complain to but ourselves, right? And so it's important for us to have these dialogues, and you don't necessarily have to disclose what you're making, but you can say, hey, I'm in this ballpark or whatever. But it's important to have these dialogues, because if we don't have this dialogue, there's nothing going to be changed, and everything kind of stays hidden in the winds of things. So it's important for us to have this discussion and have these conversations. Now, when I was working as a registered nurse for a very prominent healthcare organization in California, there was no differentiation between male or female as far as registered nurse. It was your tenure, the years of experience, and the credentials or advanced certifications you had, particularly because I was working in the emergency room department. So it was based on basically your credibility and your credentials versus male, female, right? I can't speak for the physicians that I work with, but I'm saying again, in all industries, there's a differentiation of what a male makes as a vice president of blah, 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 and what a female makes doing that same job. And because there's not conversation, because a lot of corporations have a clause in their contract that you cannot discuss wage or you will be terminated, it does not happen. So it continues to have this disparity between male and female salaries for the same employment. But opportunities like what we're talking about tonight brings it into the forefront, and hopefully there's more dialogue that will become of this conversation we're having with regards to this tonight.
And to add on to that, I also feel, I don't know, like, I feel as though women, we're socialized, you know, as we're younger and growing up, and really in like any role that we take, we want to help, right? We want to just offer our services to almost, well, I don't want to speak for everybody, but for me at least, I know that if you can prove that you are able to do the work, then you'll get rewarded later on. You just want to show them that you are reliable and that you can do the job without them asking. And I feel like that sometimes harms us in the workforce, because then it's like, oh, she'll just do the job, she doesn't need to get the pay. And like it
drop the mic. Drop the mic. We have a part in our show that we talk about. Drop the mic. Drop the mic. Drop the mic. Oh yes. Oh yes. There it was.
It's
drop the mic. Oh my goodness. Yes. Claudia,
yeah, it's just how we're socialized.
So true, you know? Claudia, because people do it thinking that they're going to in just what you said. I mean, continue talking about that, because that is important. That's a key, and we women need to stop.
I know, and it's hard to stop, you know, because
you can prove, but if they're not really pony up and give you the pay, then
you have to
what
stop
are you doing?
and say, wait a minute,
it's time to move on.
That's right. I'm doing XYZ, and that was the other thing, competency. That was the other thing that came up in the research was competence. You just nailed it, Claudia. It's competency. Always having to feel like you have to prove your competency when they're not, instead of judging your value through your work and your skills, like you're proving it, but you have to prove extra. Like there's like, okay, it's not confident enough. My gosh, come on, Claudia, talk some more about that.
You just have to work a little extra. So I know, so like I've explained how I've worked in really, really great female-led businesses. Like right now, I think our team it's women majority and men minority, and so it's really, really great to just work with such strong female women, and like it's so empowering. And my current executive director, she is a superhero. I love her. She's super smart. But I come from, you know, working from my back home, like in LA, I worked at a barbershop, which was very male dominated, and you could just see the differences in how as a woman you have to work harder. Even I was a receptionist, but even the barbers who were female would have to work that much harder to earn the respect of their male coworkers, and like they weren't paying her, they weren't giving her the tips, but she still felt as if she needed to prove something. And
that's it.
It's always having to work just a little bit harder just to prove that you are at that level for a reason. Like you don't want anyone to ever question it, because they shouldn't. And it's not just, oh, my value is already known. It's because you just feel like you're always having to prove it.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, of course, our time has run out. I knew it. I was like, man, we're in the thick of it right now. No. But we're going to continue this conversation. You know, we're going to bring this back up again at another time. But I always like to close by giving everybody like in this case, because we're down to the wire, you know, give like 1 minute, Claudia, of what your closing remark would be to women who are, you know, going through different needs that they are seeing in their jobs. How should they go about getting it? How should they go about addressing the need and allowing their bosses or places of work to know that this is a need and how to fill it?
Yeah, I always say that honesty is the best policy. If you don't feel that way in your job, maybe it's time to find a different employer, at least, just because you don't want to dislike where you're at. Too many mic drops.
Find another job.
But it's true, you know, why be unhappy and why not feel safe in where you work? That's where you're spending a majority of your life. You know, you come home for maybe 4 hours, wake up, do it all again kind of thing. And so you should feel safe enough to talk to your HR person, your boss, even a coworker, and find ways where you can like come together and find a solution. And if not, it's time to go somewhere else and take your talents and your worth somewhere else.
Excellent. 30 seconds, Rochele. Take us out.
I'm going to just continue with what Claudia said, and it's having those conversations and that dialogue. You don't necessarily have to disclose personal information, but having open conversations and dialogue about what you need, what is expected of you, what you're expecting from your employer with regards to supporting you so that you can be the best that you can be is very important, particularly for us women, because we are treated, as much as I want to say, don't want to say, but it's true. We are treated different in the workplace when it comes to men doing the same job. So just having those open conversations and dialogue is really, really important in starting the change. If we don't conversate, if we don't talk about it, if we keep everything hidden, nothing can change. And it's time for things to change, because we women are just as powerful as, I like to say, we're the most powerful species on the planet. We're more powerful than men. Life doesn't exist without women. So bam! I'm like that because that's true. But, life don't exist without women. So therefore, we need to have these conversations.
Agreed.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Claudia, for joining us. Thank you out there and wherever you're listening or viewing this. Thank you for joining us. Subscribe, and watch for us next time on Real Talk. Take care. Bye-bye.